Hello, everybody. How's it going? It's me, Crendor, and welcome back to another Crendor Rambles ASMR. Today we're in the mountains. Look at this. Great stuff. Got the mountains out here. Um, Yeehaw. So, I need to trim my beard as well. It's a little too scraggly for me right now. It's like a little too overgrown. I gotta do that soon. I only just realized that because I looked into the camera and I'm like, oh, there it is. So anyway, how's it going? I'm gonna be rambling just about whatever topics come to mind. So the first one is just breathing, and it kind of fits with the ASMR theme. I've been trying to practice better breathing because even when I talk from my diaphragm, so right now I'm kind of talking more from up here, but I'm trying to talk more from my diaphragm down here. And it's easy, like when I talk like this, you're kind of talking up here. And it's the same with breathing. So when you're breathing, if you shallow breathe, like you're just sitting around, you're kind of shallow breathing up here as well. But when you take a deep breath, you kind of feel it go here, but then it extends into your belly and your diaphragm. So you feel all this expand, and then you exhale. And I've learned how impactful breathing actually is, because it's one of those things where people always talk about it, right? Like, oh, if you're anxious, just breathe. And whenever I'm anxious and I try to just breathe, it never does anything. I don't know if my anxiety's too high in that moment. It doesn't make anything worse. Like, it's not hurting anything, but I never start breathing and then go, wow, I feel great. You know what I mean? So I started looking into the other benefits of breathing. And one of the big ones for me is just I have a small hiatal hernia. And so when your stomach is like pushing up past your diaphragm, that's a hiatal hernia. So generally, the diaphragm is just weak. And so if you strengthen your diaphragm, it's able to keep your stomach down below. Uh, it doesn't get caught up in there essentially, so it prevents things like acid reflux and whatever. I learned that almost like 60% of adults over 50 are going to have a hiatal hernia, so I just got it early, I guess. But not just that, like your diaphragm's a muscle as well. So if you're talking and um, singing or doing voice stuff, it's good to work your diaphragm because that's how to project your voice. And I think that's one of the reasons why I've always not been a very loud person as well, is because my diaphragm's just weak and I always breathe from up here. I also learned that this actually does help calm you down when you deep breathe, but it's calming your central nervous system down. And so I think it's more of like a long term thing. It's not just, well, I'm sure it could be a short term, like take deep breaths. They usually can calm people down a little bit, but I think when you breathe like this long term, it expands the diaphragm, it strengthens the diaphragm, it strengthens uh, just everything um, in that area. It helps like push out organs a bit more. It's not like pushing them into the wall, but things like your pelvic floor, which I've learned a bunch about, actually like expands, which sounds crazy, but it like help keeps it. So pretty much if you're sitting all the time, you can, or like pregnant women. I learned so much about the pregnant the pregnant women. I learned so much about the pelvic floor from like 2 years ago when mine like went crazy because I was sitting too much and I guess working out, but I wasn't strengthening my core enough. So I was doing a lot of exercises and my core was weak, and it was kind of just all the things compensate. So it just hurt to sit. Is annoying. And I was like, what is happening? So I learned that a lot of deep breathing and stuff like that helps keep those muscles kind of stretched and loose and not kind of tight and anxious. And it goes the same for your breathing. So those muscles and your lungs and everything, just, it's healthier when you're breathing all the way in. So that's there you go. You'll learn a little bit about breathing. And speaking of, and I mean, the other thing is just anxiety in general, because I think most people have anxiety. Obviously, there's people that are less prone to it. I think they don't react to it as, I guess, it's almost like a hyper sense of anxiety. Like when I get anxiety, it's like crazy. And I think that also makes people more prone to things when you're an anxious person. And then certain people just, I don't know how they do it, but they just don't get as anxious as other people. And I'm like, oh, what? It doesn't make sense to me. I don't know. I don't even remember, I guess just anxiety in general. I've always been an anxious person, which I think is why I enjoy ASMR. I think ASMR kind of dials it back a bit, it gives your mind something to occupy itself on, even if it's just a subconscious thing. Like tapping, right? Like just like that type of noise. Like if I just play an audio or a video clip of that and I let it run while I'm doing something else, like if I'm writing or if I'm working on something, video editing, whatever it might be, it helps keep me focused better than if it wasn't there. And that's why I think when I fall asleep, I also need noise. I know a lot of people need white noise and stuff. And it's interesting, because you would think like, oh, if it's quiet, then I can relax. But really, I like there to be some sort of background noise. And that's not saying like, how there's certain people, they're like, oh, it's quiet in here. Like that bothers me. That never really bothered me. Like if nobody's talking in a room, I don't care. But if it's like, there's like no computer noise or like a fan or air conditioning, like whatever it might be, that's when I start being like I need that background noise. That's what I love. So I don't know why, it just calms my anxiety, and that's the only thing I can think of, is it just occupies your mind. So what else have I been thinking about lately? I guess just like trying to, it's weird, just like I try to relax, I mean, speaking of anxiety, and a lot of time, especially in this job field, it's a weird dichotomy, because I have one side, which is I don't have to go to a workplace. I don't have to show up at 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. and do a thing. So, that's a benefit in itself. But one of the hindrances of that is that you always feel like you should be working. And some people try to counter that by having a dedicated like office space, or only doing, kind of creating their own schedule and their own hours. But for me, that's kind of, I'm really bad with schedules, if you couldn't tell. And I like to have some sort of schedule, but not overly scheduled. And it makes it just so, if you do try to take a break, if you're like, I'm not going to stream today, or I'm not going to make a video today, there's always that thought in your head of like, oh, I could do it. Like I could just stream like an hour. I could make a video. I could do something. And that's probably the biggest uh, negative thing about this job, I would say. That, and then just stress and anxiety from kind of trying to maintain everything, or just dealing with comments and stuff like that. Not even all the comments, just like occasional comments will make you be like, but it's kind of like few and far between for me. So I think the biggest thing is just learning to relax and not have to worry as much about work. So I've thought about having like certain days where I don't do anything, but then I'm like, what if I have to do something on this day? Or it's just hard to plan around. And so I think the easiest way to do it is just kind of find a time where there's nothing really happening. Maybe like there's no new games coming out. There's nothing really crazy. Maybe it's a slow advertiser month, whatever it might be, and just take like a few days off or something. I think that's pretty much, I think, my biggest thing. It reminds me of what's that movie? Kiki's Delivery Service, where Kiki's doing her thing, she's delivering stuff, she's enjoying it, and then she starts overworking, and she starts like losing her powers, and then she has to like take a break to kind of rejuvenate herself and be like, all right, yeah, this is what I'm doing, and now I've kind of got a new outlook on everything. And I think that just goes for anything, whether it's a hobby or your job or relationships, like really anything. I think everything you need to take a break, even if it's only a few days, and just kind of reanalyze everything and be like, what's going on here? Like, what am I doing? You kind of look inward, kind of think about all that. And I don't know. I think it's just good for whoever, right? I think it's bad to kind of have this constant work mentality that a lot of people have, where they just can't stop working. It almost feels like the workaholic part is just them working to forget about their emotions and to forget about their feelings and to forget about any other things in their lives, because they're like, well, I can just work, and when I work, I'm being productive, I'm making money, I'm doing my job, I'm benefiting society. Like, you're doing all these things, but at the same time, you're just sacrificing so much of your mental and physical health. And it's like, it's just not good. So, and I mean, at the same time, it also goes the other way, right? Where there's times where you can be too laid back or lenient or lazy. And I've been guilty probably more of that than the other way around. A lot of people I'm friends with, they're more of, hold on, a thing just popped up on my screen. Okay. They're more of like workaholic people. And so to me, that just isn't what I'm about, because I've always been a very ambient, aesthetic person. I need to have like an aesthetic environment, a comfy environment. I don't like being tied down to a schedule. I've always hated school. I need like a creative outlet. I would say I'm more of a creative person than a like logistical kind of hard working person. You know what I mean? And so, like, I would always fall into the trap of like, I would create like a video or do a big stream or like do all these things and be like, wow, great. And then something would just like demotivate me, whether it's like pain, so like stomach pain, or pelvic floor pain, like just sitting, and then you're like, well, I don't want to make videos now, it hurts to sit, or like neck pain, or I mean, whatever it might be, like, things in life could happen. Like, I mean, there's so many things that can deter you from doing the things you want to do. And it's just, you just got to get used to it, or you need to kind of find a way to get past that. Like sometimes I'd be like, I don't want to do this thing today. But I'd be like, you know what? I'm just going to do it anyway. One of the best ways for me to do that is kind of just do it for a few minutes. Like if I'm going to clean, I'm like, all right, maybe I'm going to clean something. Well, I'm just going to clean it for 5 minutes. And then 5 minutes just turns into like finishing whatever it was. And I think that's one of the best ways to get things done is you just say, I'm going to go work out for 5 minutes. And then once you get going, you're like, hey, I can just keep going with this. And then you do like a full hour-long workout or something, right? It's what I used to do for videos. I would make a script, and I'd be like, I don't know if I want to write a script today. I'm not feeling great. Then I'd be like, all right, I'm just going to write the script, and that's it. And then I'd write it, and then I'd be like, okay, well, now I got a script here for a WoW video. And then I'd be like, okay, well, now I need to voice this script. And so I'd be like, all right, I'm going to record like 2 voice lines, and that's it. And then I'd record those lines, and then I'd be like, well, I can keep going now that I'm doing this and I'm rolling. And it just seemed like whenever I would apply that 5-minute type of thing, it kind of tricks your brain because your brain has this thing of like, oh, there's too many things to do, so let's do none of them. You know what I mean? Or it's like, oh, that thing is going to take forever to do, so let's just not do it. And then if you say, well, you know what? I'm just going to spend a couple minutes on it, and that's it. Then your brain's kind of like, all right, we could do a couple minutes. And once you get going, your brain's like, all right, this wasn't too bad. So it's kind of like a weird brain hack when you think about it. Well, I got to reply to a... I'll give you a keyboard ASMR. So yeah, I would say just, dealing with all those things is something that kind of is always on my mind. So it's like just having to manage so many things is, I think, probably one of my biggest anxiety inducers. Being like, I got Patreon, I got Twitter, I got, well, I don't care about Twitter, but just like social media in general, right? I've got YouTube, I've got Twitch, I've got numerous YouTube channels, I got sponsorships and podcasts and like all these different things. Then it's like, well, I should also be getting into other things. Like, should I do TikTok? I feel like I'm too old to do TikTok, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, it's the big thing, everyone's doing it, so I'm like, I might as well try doing it. And it's trying to manage all these different things at once as well. It's just kind of, it can become overwhelming. And some people might just be like, whatever, it's just a thing. It's just a thing. Or like, you don't gotta do like the TikTok or social media, like whatever, it's dumb. But like, when it's your, this isn't like a, oh man, I'm just, trying to browse TikTok and have some fun and see some meme. Like, this is literally like my business, right? So like, you feel like Blockbuster being like online ordering, like this is just dumb, who cares, right? You don't want to fall behind, because when you start falling behind, then you start falling off and disappearing into nothingness, right? So you need to constantly adapt to everything, which is why if you just act like that, like, this new thing's dumb, I don't want to learn it, then you miss out on potential opportunities. And so that's what's so crazy about this job and industry is like, you can kind of ignore some platforms and stuff, but if they keep growing, there hits a point where you need to be like, maybe I need to look into this. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe my own kind of pride is holding me back in a way, right? Like, I'm too good for this. This is for the dumb kids of today, right? And then you try it and you're like, oh, well, I get it now, right? So I don't know. These are all the things you got to think about. But at the same time, like, I enjoy doing this. I'd rather do this all the time than work a 9-to-5 job somewhere. And some people don't. Like, I know numerous YouTube and Twitch streamers and stuff or YouTubers and streamers and everything that have tried YouTube and Twitch and actually gotten a decent following, and they just quit. They're just like, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't like it. I want to go work a 9-to-5 job. And like, it's just, it's one of the things where like so many people want to do this, and then a lot of people try it and they realize it's not for them because it's everything I just mentioned, right? There's so many things to manage. There's so much you have to put into it, and it can be overwhelming. And some people, it's easier to just go out there and have somebody tell you what to do and then go home, and that's that. But that's gonna be my rambling of the day. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I know I mentioned Patreon. If you want to check that out, patreon.com/Crendor. I do AMAs. I do podcasts over there. It's a good time. And, yeah. Okay. See ya.